Now to ink Spider-Man, we want to use a certain type of pen. It's this type of pen here. It's called a Sharpie Ultra Fine. And I want you to take these notes with this pen and work with me as we do a little demonstration so that you can get familiar with how it works and what you need to do. Okay, so using this pen, let's go ahead and get your name on this piece of paper. And we'll put that right here. And class period as well. Alright, so notation number 1. I want you to write down the name of this pen, which I just mentioned. It's a Sharpie. Write that for me carefully. And it's an Ultra Fine. So once again, it's this type of pen that we want to use on Spider-Man. Okay, notation number 2. I want you to write down the characteristic that we want your pen, or I should say, the lines of Spider-Man to have. This word right here, smooth. Exclamation point. We want the lines that you ink on Spider-Man to be very, very smooth. Okay, notation number 3. I want you to write double thick outside. I am looking for that, a line that is thicker, a double thick line around the outside of Spider-Man and around any negative spaces on Spider-Man as well. Okay, number 4. This notation here, no white out. And the reason for that is this. If you use whiteout when you make an inking mistake, that'll be a problem because the markers or the colored pencils that you're going to use to color Spider-Man, they don't work on top of the whiteout. So I need you to ink Spider-Man as carefully as possible without making mistakes, making it unnecessary to use any whiteout. Okay, number 5. Patience. To do a careful inking job, it takes time. You need to have patience. And of course, I'll give you a demonstration for how long I think it should take you to ink this Spider-Man. And that's one thing we're trying to work on with you here in R1, is to develop your patience, to increase your patience, since most junior high students are rather impatient. And of course, number 6, let's make a note, if you happen to be an impatient student working rather quickly, we may need something to keep you busy, and that would be an art history worksheet. Hopefully you will want to avoid one of those, working very carefully and patiently with your pen. Okay, so over here we have some examples. A hairy line, a line with blots, smooth, pull toward, and smooth, push away. And I want to demonstrate each one of these lines here, and I want you to work with me as we do it. Okay, first, let's work on the hairy line. Now I want to start here at the bottom, and this is a bad example. A type of line that should be avoided when inking Spider-Man. A line that looks like this. A line that is very rough, like this, with a bunch of hairs growing out of it, as you can see. Now as you watch me do this, I want you to go ahead and practice this as well. I think oftentimes it's a good idea to practice a bad example so you know what you need to avoid. A line that's very hairy, a line that's like a bear, or even worse, a line that is like the back of that middle-aged guy you are standing behind in line at Cherry Hill, with all these lines, hairs growing outside it. So this type of line here, that's very hairy, is one that should be avoided when inking Spider-Man. Okay, let's do another bad example. This one here is called a line with blots. This is how you do it. You draw a short distance like this, and then you let your pen sit there while you get distracted by something on the wall or by your neighbor, and in the meantime your pen is leaking out, making this gigantic blot. I want you to practice that. Short distance, let it sit there. Short distance, let it sit there. Again, let that just bleed out for you. Short distance, let it sit there, and again. And notice how terrible this line looks with all these dots or blots in the middle of it. So this type of line as well is one that should be avoided. Okay, so I've given you two bad examples, a line with hairs and a line with blots. Okay, now these others that you see right here, these are good examples. Now this one here is called smooth pull toward. In this case, what you do, don't draw it quite yet, is you take your pen and you pull it towards your body. Okay, let's give you an example of that. This time, let's start at the top. So what you want to do is carefully draw this line like this, pulling the pen toward you, trying to make a very, very smooth line. Okay, and you do that by pulling the pen towards your body. Let's practice that one more time. Okay, again, I'll start at the top. I carefully pull the pen towards myself, trying to make a very smooth line. Okay, now that's a good example. So if your lines look like that, that's a nice example too. Okay, one more example. Now there's another way to make a very smooth line, and that's by pushing the pen away from your body. So in this case, we want to start down here at the bottom, and we want to push the pen like this away from our body as we draw this very careful, smooth line. See how I do that? Okay, let's practice that one more time. Starting here at the bottom, you carefully draw over that line, very smooth, pushing the pen away, just like that. Okay, so now that we've practiced a little bit, we're ready to start inking Spider-Man. Remember, try to avoid the hairy line, try to avoid the line with the blots. The type of line you want to have, a smooth line, using either the pull toward yourself technique or a smooth line using the push away from your body technique as we've demonstrated for you here.